Hey, it's Randy from Voices, and today I'm challenging myself to create a professional voiceover demo for less than $30. We're scrapping the studio, we're scrapping the acoustic treatment on the walls, we're even scrapping the fancy microphone, we're going back to the basics, and we're gonna create a demo from scratch. Now, the first thing that we're gonna need is a device to record on. In this case, I'm using a laptop. Now, I'm not actually gonna factor in the cost of this laptop into this experiment because I assume if you're watching this, you have access to a laptop yourself, or a tablet, or a phone, all of which you can record on completely for free. Now, I've also gone ahead and installed some software on this computer called Audacity, and it has every tool that you need to get started. You can edit your recordings, you can add music, you can add effects and processing, and the best part is it's completely free. Of course, I will link to everything that I talk about down below, so you have access to those links as well. The next thing that we're gonna need is a microphone. So I went out to a local music store and I rented this microphone. It's the AKG P220. It was $12 for the day. I also got an audio interface. This is the PreSonus Audio Box 96. It was $8 for the day. I got a microphone stand, a microphone cable, and I rented a pair of nice headphones. These are the Audio-Technica ATH M30X. Altogether, it cost me $28 for the day. Now keep in mind, you don't have to break the bank here. You could literally use some Apple earbuds if you want. You just need enough of a reference point to know that you're making some decent decisions. Of course, some good headphones are definitely gonna help. Okay, now we've got all the equipment, we just need a nice place to record. But to keep this fair, I'm gonna record inside of my house, in my basement, with absolutely no professional acoustic treatment. So let's go ahead and get set up. Okay, we've got everything set up, but I can tell that this isn't sounding very good. There's a lot of reflections in this space, so we need to add some soft surfaces around us to help absorb some of those reflections and help eliminate that reverb time in this space. Okay, welcome to the inside of my vocal booth. So I've added some acoustic treatment. It's really just moving blankets that I found in the garage, some sofa cushions up above and in front of the microphone, and I've also added a rug down below. Now, I'm going for function over form. I understand this is not pretty, it's not glamorous. You probably don't want this living in your living room for too long, but it should be pretty functional. So let's go ahead and compare the same line without acoustic treatment and with acoustic treatment. All right, hopefully that breakout session was helpful for you to understand how important it is to be an active listener. All right, hopefully that breakout session was helpful for you to understand how important it is to be an active listener. Now let's keep in mind, we've only spent around $30 on this setup so far. Now, of course, you can add more linens, blankets, towels, whatever you need to help dampen the sound, but I think for now, this is gonna do the trick. So let's go ahead and record my first demo. Now, for the purposes of this demo, I'm gonna use a basic healthcare style of read. I think this will be a great addition to my profile. Now, I'm going to use a sample script that I found here on the Voices website. Of course, I will link this below as well. Now, keep in mind, I am not a voice talent, so go easy on me in the comments, please. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? Not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you haven't fallen asleep yet? Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All-Natural Sleep Aid. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but just because you haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All-Natural Sleep Aid. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But do you have all the late night infomercials? Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All-Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, so I think we have enough out of those 3 takes to salvage a good recording. So let's go ahead and we'll move upstairs and we'll jump into the editing process. All right, so now we're in Audacity, and you can use this program to add effects, processing. You can use it to edit your audio files. You can see I've broken this down into the 3 different takes that I've done: take 1, take 2, and take 3. I was most happy with take number 3, so I'm gonna start with that one. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order. And the only part that I want to sub in here is the acting now to double your order from the previous take. So that's right. Acting now to double your order. Yeah, let's say that I'm happy with that piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy it, paste this at the end here so I have it. I'm going to delete take 2. I'm going to delete take 1, and I'm going to find this section here. Acting now to double your order. So I can find that. Once I find it, I can put cuts here like so. And I can delete this piece and space these out a little bit more. I'm going to drag in the acting now to double your order piece from before. It'll snap right in there. And then I just want to make sure that the phrasing and tempo still feel pretty consistent. So let's take a listen. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order. Okay, so it's a little awkward. So what I'm going to do is zoom in here, just trim off a tiny little bit of both of these sides. It just felt like there was a little bit too much of a hesitation there. So commercials memorized, but not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just have. And that breath, I feel like there's kind of a double breath there now. So I'm going to actually just pull this one back, pull this one forward. Now to double your order, but it still doesn't feel quite natural. Now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, great. I'm pretty happy with that. I feel like the performance feels natural. It feels like how I intended it to feel. So now I'm going to go ahead and drop in some music. Okay, so I've got my music track in here, and you can see the music track is quite long, so I'm gonna go ahead and edit this down. I know I wanna take the beginning piece of it, and I wanna take the ending, and I went with sort of a meditative, sleepy sounding music track. Of course, you can go with whatever feels right for the purpose of your ad. I'm gonna link down below to some places where you can get some royalty-free music, but let's go ahead and cut this at the end, I'm gonna cut it at the beginning, and we're gonna try to make this sort of butt up to one another and sound nice and cohesive. Let's see how this sounds just playing it. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order. Okay, that's super loud. So let's go ahead and turn this down. And I know that I don't really want that to be too long. So let's try this. We're gonna have to line it up timing wise to make it work, but this will be a good start. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, I actually feel like that feels quite nice. So it's got this louder section here to balance out that put your insomnia to bed. It's sort of giving the resolve, and it feels like it's grown to that. There's a little bit of like a musical crescendo into that. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, so I'm actually gonna add another stereo track below this and move this piece down here. I'm pretty happy with the positioning, but I do wanna put in a crossfade. And to do that in Audacity, you just have to do Effect, Fade In. And on this one, we're gonna do Effect and Fade Out. But because you just haven't fallen asleep yet, put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, and we're gonna do a fade out here, Effect and Fade Out. And we just want to play with this timing till it feels. But because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia. But because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Because you're obsessed. So I'm just trying to line up the beats so that it feels a little bit more natural. Because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order. But because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. So I'm pretty happy with the pacing of this. So I'm going to go ahead and add one effect to this whole thing here, and that is a compressor. And I'm just gonna use the default settings. Now you can see here that it's set to auto makeup gain for 0 dB after compressing. So that means as it pulls those peaks down, it's gonna pull the whole audio file back up a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that on. Of course, you can try these settings, see what works best for your voice, see what works best for the demo that you're producing. Let's go ahead and click OK, and you can see how much louder that just got. So now we may need to bring the music up to balance that out, but this should actually help the dialogue sit on top of that music a little bit. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, it's not bad, it's not bad. One other thing that I wanna do here is I'm gonna add a effect to the music track. Now I'm gonna have to do this to both tracks here because they're on separate tracks, but I wanna add that filter curve EQ. And what I'm gonna do here is I don't want to add that, so I'm going to flatten this one. What I want to do is right around about 2 to 4,000 hertz or 4K. This range is what we'd consider to be like the intelligibility range. This is what really lets vocals pop out in a mix. So I actually want to duck this section down in the music track about 3 to 4 decibels, something in and around there. You can also kind of feather this in so it's not too abrasive. So I'll just do this, just sort of feathering it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply that. And I'm also gonna apply that to this track here, filter curve EQ. And apply the same thing. This is just it's a little subtle movement that helps that dialogue sit on top of the mix. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, but now I think that the music track can come up just a bit, so I'm gonna bring it up to -6. Do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you just haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with Nocturnal Rest All Natural Sleep Aid. Okay, and just like that, we've got ourselves a demo. So now I'm gonna go ahead and export this demo to my desktop. I'm gonna call it something creative, not demo audio. I'm gonna save this to my desktop for now. But now I can see that that file is on my desktop and we're ready to upload it. Okay, but are there ways to improve this? Of course. You could hire a copywriter to help you with the script. You could hire a production studio to help you with the recording. You could hire a voiceover coach to help you with your performance. All of these things would greatly improve your voiceover demo. But when you're getting started, it's really important to create something quick and easy that still sounds professional. If you have any questions about this process, let me know down in the comments. And because we said we were gonna spend $30 and it only cost me $28, I'm gonna treat myself to some ice cream.